Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Meditation Mama podcast. We're in our third series, a series for moms here at the holiday season because moms are on the front end of it all, right? And so this is a series dedicated to you. And of course, I know there's dads and grandparents and those of you who don't have kids who are listening. And just know that even though I'm addressing the moms, this applies to all of us. It's good stuff for all of us. So what we're talking about in this episode is the how to deactivate our inner critic. And if you remember from our first episode, we talked about how we have learned well. We have learned well how to do certain things. And part of that learning that we've learned so well is to critique ourselves, that voice in our head that's telling us, you're not doing a good job. You're screwing up here. We might say you're a fuck up, right? There's so many much worse things I know that people will say to themselves in their head. And so how can we shift that voice so that we can learn to believe that we are doing a good job? And did you see I use the word believe. I don't want you to just know it. I don't want you to just think it. I want you to know it in your deep in your being. You believe, you know on a deep, deep level, dear moms, that you are doing a good job. And so, hi everyone. I am Caren Prentice. I am the founder of Meditation Mama. And what I want to help us recognize today is that this critic that lives in us to one degree or another, some of you have a really strong one. My husband used to call that inner voice the rat bastard voice in his head, right? And some of you are lucky enough that it's there, but it doesn't take over, and it doesn't diminish you the way it can for others. But either way, that voice that has us really not often liking ourselves very much is, in the words of my Tibetan teacher Lama Harvey, that self-loathing is the common cold of the Western culture. In other words, it's so pervasive, this voice in our head that's beating us up, that telling us we didn't do a good job, that we're not good enough, that we should have done it better, that it's as pervasive as the common cold. And here's what I want to let you know. It doesn't have to be that way. There is another way to do this. There is another way that the voice in our head is supportive and understanding and kind and compassionate. And so let's talk a little bit about the old paradigm, I call it. That voice in our head, where does it come from? It comes from a a, a mindset that says that if I'm tough on you, that will make you stronger. A mindset that says if I'm harsh and critical, that is going to motivate you to do better. A mindset that says, if I shame you and embarrass you, you're going to be so afraid of being shamed and embarrassed that you're going to rise up even stronger, and you're not going to give up, and you're going to toughen up and get where we need to go. To which I want to say, if that works for you, go for it. Go for it. And if it's working, great. But with the line of work I'm in, teaching meditation to people, what I've learned is it? Is it really working? Because it's not working for most people I know. That voice in the head is debilitating. It's demoralizing, and it's actually demotivating. It's paralyzing, right? Well, it can be paralyzing. And so what I want today is to just help you recognize that there's another way. The old way has left many of my students and the people I know with anxiety, on medication, in therapy, and feeling sometimes that there's just no purpose. It's hopeless. And I have to look at that and go, to me, that says that old paradigm isn't working. And to me, that says, let's try another way. Let's try a new paradigm. What have you got to lose? right? What have you got to lose? Let's try a new paradigm where we learn how to be kind, gentle, understanding, compassionate. And let's see if we can change that voice in our head to think those kinds of thoughts and see what happens. See what happens. You've got nothing to lose and possibly everything to gain, because I know that whereas once upon a time, my husband, that rat bastard old paradigm voice was in his head, today it's not. Today it's not there, and he's so much happier. He's so much happier. And you can be too. So moms, here's what I want to offer you. So when that voice comes into your head, there are a few things you can do to, do I want to say quiet it? I think I want to say begin to shift it, literally shift the paradigm. And what it is to learn to stop doing. I'm going to give you three things. I'm going to give you just three things that you can start doing right now. And the first two are what we call just stop doing these things. Because in meditation, one of the things we've learned is that stopping doing something is actually easier than trying to start a new habit. Okay. And this new paradigm that I'm sharing with you, these three little things I'm giving you today are just the beginning of what has been known to meditators for millennia. I'm calling it a new paradigm, but it really isn't. These teachings have been around for ages because they work. And in all truth, much of what is being done in therapy and counseling today comes out of these teachings. So let me give you the first three. They sound simple, and they're simple in your head, but if you start doing them, you're going to actually recognize they're very powerful and effective. So the first stop is to stop judging. Okay? And I don't want you to stop judging in a way that's hard on yourself. We want to, the way we stop is we first begin to notice when we're being judging, and we come at it lightly, gently, kind of like the new paradigm, right? So if we see our mind going, "Oh my gosh, I'm not going to get those Christmas cards out. What's wrong with me? Everybody else has their cards out and I just haven't even gotten started yet. Oh man, what's wrong with me?" You have that thought, you look at it and you go, "Oh, look at me, judgy thought. What's wrong with me? Judgy thought, judgy thought." And that's enough right there. That's a great start right there. Another possible thought, driving along and you're looking out and you see somebody's Christmas lights and they're just kind of hanging and droopy, and you think to yourself, "Wow, what was wrong? Why is that person just letting those lights hang like that? What's wrong here? That looks so awful." And you go, "Oh, judgy thought, judgy thought, judgy thought." That's where we start. Judgy thought. And a little bit later, I'll give you an example of thoughts you can shift it to, a way to shift those thoughts. But for now, let's just kind of drink in this first step, which is to stop judging by noticing when you're doing it and greeting it with a very light, "Oh, judgy thought, judgy thought." Okay. The second thing to stop doing is what we call comparing, right? One of my dear friends, Mary Beth, says, "We are worshiping the God of comparison." And I don't know that I even have to say more. I think you all know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You look around your world and you compare your hair, you compare bodies, you compare schools, you compare spouses, you compare kids, you compare jobs, compare, right? And here's the I don't know, here's the, what do you call it? The glitch with that is that you will find people that you are better than, but you are also going to find lots of people who are, in your perception, better than you. And so it's a slippery slope, folks. And I really recommend don't even go down that road. Train yourself to just stop comparing and to learn how to live authentically your life, your life, your life, right? Okay. Stop judging, stop comparing. And I got a little story for you about the comparing because I think it's such a pervasive thing that we all tend to do, but it's a setup because you're comparing to an illusion. You're comparing to something you see that you have created a story around that may have no basis in reality. So here's a little story to share with you. So this was the 90s. My kids were all little, and my oldest was in high school, and um, there was a family in our community who just appeared to be the perfect family, right? She was attractive, funny, smart, charismatic, and people just loved her. She had lots of friends and just this beautifully vivacious smile, laugh personality. And her husband was very involved, and he was athletic, and he coached the sports, and he was involved in other community things, and they always seemed to be happy and doing things together as a family, and the kids were well liked in their classes. My kids, two of my kids were friends with their kids, and it just seemed, the yard was beautiful, the house was always beautiful and beautifully decorated, and they always did stuff and went places, and it was like the perfect family, right? And I'd done a lot of work over the 8 years. Well, I actually knew her for many, many years, but from the start of when I met her to where I'm going in the story, it was about 8 years, to actually just be happy for her and not feel jealous and not compare, right? I was doing a lot of work to just be okay with who I was. All right, so fast forward now. This is the story of this woman. I've known her for about 6, 7 years, and now I'm gonna fast forward and just kind of fill you in on where we're going in this story. So it's Christmas of 1998. I have been for our church, we were part of a non-denominational Christian church. It was called a New Thought Church. And we had several thousand congregants. And I was putting on a Christmas pageant. It was a play I had written, and I had some of the musicians help me write some music and songs for it. And it was actually a really beautiful, beautiful show. And it used the whole congregation. 80 kids in it, right? We had the adults all helping with the scenery and the costumes. It was a full-on church event. And when we're doing the show, the final night of the show, I think we only did one night actually. Um, the the to encapsulate what the show was capturing, I'm going to ask you to just kind of like imagine in your head. It's the ending of this whole Christmas story. So the stage with its beautiful lighting, we had a guy who was just a great lighting designer. We've got lots of little kids in animal costumes. We've got wise men and camels and shepherds and all of this wonderful stuff. And then there's Mary and Joseph, and Mary is holding the baby. We had a real live infant. And the ending of the show was a song. And Mary, who happened to be my daughter, my eldest daughter at that time, who was very, very good with babies. And she's holding the baby in front of her in her hands so that people can kind of see the baby. And she's singing the last line of the song, which says, "The birth of love to celebrate." She's just looking at the audience. And then she looks down at the baby. The baby looks at her, and she says, "The birth of love to celebrate." She looks down. "He wanted us to know." And she looks back up at the audience, "Is not the one 2,000 years ago." Looks back at the baby, and the music swells, and everybody starts singing the chorus. And the message being, well, this isn't about celebrating the birth of the Christ child. This is about celebrating the birth of love within each of our own hearts. And so the music swells, everybody sings, people are in tears. It was just so magical. And then the narrators come on and end the show by saying, and so when you leave tonight, just ask yourself, how is the light, the birth of that love within me? That's what's important. That's what matters. So it's just moving and beautiful. And so what does this have to do with my friend, right? So I'm out there just saying goodnight to everybody, getting all the kids back with their parents, and the parents are happy, the kids are happy. It was just really a magical evening. And all of a sudden, this woman comes walking up to me. She didn't go to church, much less our church, and she's got tears streaming down her face. And she walks up to me, puts her hand on my shoulder, kind of draws me to the side, and she's crying and she's saying, I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you enough for that. That was so beautiful. I was at home and I was feeling so lonely and so empty. And I was so fed up with my husband and my kids that I left and I got a hotel room. And I was thumbing through the paper, trying to look for something that might fill me up. And I saw this, so I came. I had no idea you even went to this church, but I have to tell you, now she's ugly crying, right? I am so glad I came. I feel so full. I feel so rich. It was so meaningful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I was blown away because I had fallen into the trap, the comparison trap, and I believed what I saw on the outside, which was the illusion that it was the perfect family. And I'd lost track of the fact that everybody has a story. Everybody has a story. So this comparison thing, it's don't do it. It's worthless. It's not worth it. And to be honest, she gave us the next day on my porch. There's one of those huge gift baskets with all kinds of wonderful things and in it a Christmas ornament. And I have it to this day because every year when I put it on the tree, it reminds me that it's not about how things look. It's about what's actually going on inside, right? The love inside. So I learned, and I hope this story helps you to really, really, really grasp that this comparison game isn't worth playing. If you want to like yourself, if you want to know you're doing a good job, you just got to just step away. Step away. And now let's finish up this episode by talking just briefly about how you can change those thoughts in your head. And I want to remind you of the wolf story, which I think we've shared before, but if not, here we go. There's a Native American grandpa, and he's sitting by the fire, and he looks so intent and upset, right? He's just really concentrating, and the grandson is sitting there, and the grandson's looking at his grandpa and says, "Oh, grandpa, what's wrong?" And grandpa says, "Oh, grandson, there are two wolves inside me, and they're fighting. One is a wolf that is angry and wants to lash out and hurt people, and it's miserably unhappy. And the other wolf is in there, and it's kind and it's gentle and it's caring. And they're fighting with each other." And the grandson looks at grandpa and says, "Oh, grandpa, which one wins?" And grandpa says, "The one I feed. The one I feed." So moms, the feed the thoughts you want to cultivate. Feed the thoughts that will help you build a new paradigm, that will help you move into a space of being gentle with yourself, understanding and compassionate, so we can deactivate that inner critic. Why? So you can know and understand that you're doing a good job. And here's how you can do it. Just let me give just two quick examples, right? So let's go back to the example of the Christmas cards, right? We've got the um, oh my gosh, everybody is doing Christmas cards and I haven't done mine, and oh man, nobody's going to get mine, and everybody's going to be upset with me because they didn't get the Christmas cards. And you notice the thought and you go, oh, comparing thought. And now we add a new thought. We practice a gentle thought and we say, you know what? It's okay. You've had a lot going on. Things are so intense at work right now. Everybody trying to get things done for the end of the year. Your kids have had these activities you've been showing up for. You've got your partner's holiday party you're showing up for. And there's a lot of things going on the table. And yeah, you could stay up late and get them done, but then you're going to be crabby and exhausted and you'll start snapping at the kids. So, no, go you. Get your rest. Put the people in your life first. And, it's okay. You don't have to do the cards. It's okay. It's okay. You see the difference, right? Okay, let's try another one. So I know for a lot of you, the gift thing is really, really problematic, right? There's so many people that this gift thing, they're expected. And I know for many of us, we don't particularly feel we're actually all that great at choosing gifts and giving gifts, and it feels false. And so, when that thought comes up, it's like, oh my gosh, the gifts, I'm just no good at this. I don't want to do this. We go, oh, judgy thought. I'm no good at this. That's a judgy thought. That's a judgy thought. And instead, we hold the thought, it's okay. You don't have to be good at everything. And no, you're not great at gifts, and that's okay. There's some people they just have a knack for it. But I don't. And that's okay. And that's okay. So, you know, we can talk in another episode about what the choice of whether to give gifts or not. But for today's purposes, it's to just greet that judgy thought and be gentle. Say, yeah, maybe I'm not good at it. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with you that you don't have a knack for giving gifts. Not everybody does. Okay? And here's the thing, moms. If you can start to do this, you can start to feed the new paradigm. And when you feed the new paradigm, you start to feed a way of being where that inner critic can start to dissolve, and where you can start to recognize, wait, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong here. And oh my gosh, maybe even begin to like yourself. And in the spirit of the season, maybe even begin to do the most important thing there is, which is to learn how to love yourself. To love yourself. All right, moms, I adore you. I have so much respect and awe for you. And I want you to know that until you know, I will know for you that you are doing a good job. All right, loves. If you want to know more about what we do, please visit our website and maybe even sign up for our newsletter. I hope to see you next time. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me.
May I be happy, may I be free, joyous, grateful, safe and at ease. May I live wisely, flowing downstream, row my boat gently and sing merrily. May you be happy, may you be free, joyous, grateful, safe and at ease. May you live wisely, flowing downstream, row your boat gently and sing merrily. May all be happy, may they be free, joyous, grateful, safe and at ease. May they live wisely, flowing downstream, row their boats gently and sing merrily.